it's time for me to look into the Magic 8 Ball and see what I think is happening for 2026 here. So, and it was a big week, I tell you what, for real estate. We had the World Economic Summit was in Switzerland this past week. Trump was speaking at that. And so, the markets tend to react to some of those comments that come out of that. Housing was a major factor that he did talk about during the summit. He also, a couple of things, I think he's putting some pressure on the big institutional buyers. That's not one of my predictions, but I just think it's worth mentioning. His comments about it were hilarious. Yeah. He was actually like, hey, some of these guys are my friends and my buddies, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to have to change your business dramatically and not let you buy houses anymore. I mean, it was like that was it's not a direct quote, but that was kind of the summary. And so, in some of these markets, most people understand that, over the last 5 to 7 years, some of these big companies have rolled up massive portfolios of single family homes and treated them basically like a hedge fund of single family homes. Now, when they were getting these crazy appreciation rates, it was a great investment for them to be able to do it, and really hadn't been done at scale ever before in the U.S. But one of the problems it created was when they would come into a market and pick a market to invest in, they would buy up a lot of the inventory. Then that would kind of axe out some of the individual home buyers. They would then turn around and rent those houses. And Trump even indicated in his speech in Switzerland, he even indicated that he, doesn't want the United States to become a nation of renters. And so the housing policies that are going to be coming out that they're working on, I think you're going to see some changes to that to try to help the individual buyer in the U.S. And I think what you will see happen, this is not one of my official predictions that I wrote down, but I think what you'll see happen is, I think both sides of the aisle politically can agree that affordable housing is a very, very important topic. And of all the things he talks about getting done, I think that some sort of bill that has to do with that will get bipartisan support. I think most people, they might not agree on the exact methods, but I think a lot of people see, and I hear just out on the streets, every week, like, I don't know how young people are affording houses. Yeah. And then it becomes not even young people. It becomes, the average first-time home buyer being 40. Yeah. And so it's like, it's not just young people, it's all people in that situation. So there's going to be a lot more come out of that. These were just, we haven't seen the specifics yet of all of these plans, but there was a lot talked about in that 4-minute speech or clip that I saw. But my first prediction for 2026 that I am going to talk about, and it's on everybody's minds. There's a lot of agreement and disagreement about this. And if I didn't make it number one, people would not be happy. It's interest rates. Okay. Like that's the number, that's the number one predictor and what people are talking about and you're hearing about in the headlines. Last year, I had predicted that we would see rates settle out around 6%, and I was spot on with that prediction last year. I have spent way too many hours trying to read where this prediction is going to go. Yeah. And most people think that rate is going to stay and fluctuate on a 30-year mortgage somewhere between 6% and 6.3%. I'm actually going to step out, and I didn't see a single article on this that really quoted this rate, but I'm going to step out, and I actually think, good, bad, or indifferent, I actually think it's going to be lower. I think it's going to settle out at around 5 3/4. A couple reasons for that. Number one is we've already seen a new lower limit set, because when Trump made the announcement about the institutions buying another $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities just a couple of weeks ago, we saw rates go all the way, certain programs got that rate down to 5.5 to 5.75. Now it's clicked back up a little bit, but I know the market prices this into the play, but they haven't even started that buying yet. And so I think once we get into that cycle and that buying starts, I think you're going to see some pressure, some downward pressure on rates. And then there is constantly the talk. In fact, I'm going to call it a dust up, a storm cloud dust up of who the new Fed chair is going to be, who the nomination's going to be, if somebody's going to get fired, who Trump wants to put in there. He even mentioned that he's interviewed a number of people in his speech in, I think it was Davos, Switzerland. I think that's where it was, Davos. In Davos, in his speech, he even, sometimes I just have to cringe a little bit. He even in his speech called him Jerome Too Late Pal. So he said that he was just not adjusting rates fast enough in that situation. So that, I think as those talks move along, I think the market's going to adjust a little bit lower. There's a lot of people that say it shouldn't, it won't be healthy, it'll cause inflation again, it'll cause upward pressure on prices. But I really think my prediction is that I think we're going to see that 30-year settle out around 5.75. And I got to tell you, very selfishly, as a real estate agent for myself,
you hope so.
Let's freaking go. Okay, so I'm just going to throw that out there. There is a conflict of interest, and yes, I have it. And so that's where I'm fine with the rates being there. The second thing is I'm like an addicted gambler that thinks I'm going to hit again. I'm going to double down on my prediction. It pissed me off that I missed the Townhome one. I just still, it's still bothering me a little bit. I'm waking up with an occasional cold sweat. I really thought we were going to set the Tri-Cities record for townhome shared wall sales, duplex townhome sales. In 2025, we didn't. But I'm doubling down on that again, and I think I'm predicting that we will set that record in 2026. I think we'll surpass 300 units sold, which is a lot. I mean, we've got to sell then roughly 30 of those, 25 to 30 of those a month, depending upon the time of year. But the thing is I just think that there's a couple things going on. I think that the shared wall building method is necessary for affordability. I also think what we've started to see is we've seen changes to the single family zoning, meaning a lot of these infill lots, a lot of these projects that they are putting in near what was single family neighborhoods are now allowing them to do multifamily or shared wall townhouses. And those projects have sticks in the air, meaning they're coming out of the ground right now. 2 to 3 months from now, we're going to have a lot of inventory, and the builders are going to have, if they haven't by then, they're going to have some pressure to move that inventory. And then if my first prediction is correct and rates drop into that 5.75, then once again, we have first-time home buyers and downsizing retirees able to look at this product and be able to afford a home that they own that is similar in price to where rents are. Because a lot of rents right now, where rates have been, it makes renting a cheaper, more viable option in some of those cases. And so if this corrects itself and gets back to where they can own for roughly the same price, we will see those units in that price point finally start selling at what I believe is going to be a record rate in 2026. The next thing that I wrote down is what I call AI house matching. I believe AI house matching with buyers and sellers will start to gain popularity and rule the real estate industry. And so what I mean by that is that the speed of which this data analysis is happening with AI is incredibly efficient and incredibly quick. And so if you look at the market from a global or say national 30,000 feet look.
Yeah.
What we were doing, what Google was doing, in the 2000s, and then 2010 to 2020 is with their Google images and street views, they were creating basically your Google Earth, Google Maps.
Yeah.
The cars were driving around. They were taking pictures, you see them so that you can do street view and you can walk around. Well, what you can do now is you can now search by street view. So if you're trying to find certain characteristics of, I want a tree-lined street in Kennewick, then you can find images of what that looks like. Well, as real estate agents, what we've been doing the last 5 to 7 years at a pretty high level is we are Google street mapping the interiors of every house in America.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's standard for us to do a 3D tour of a house with our Matterport cameras, with our Zillow Showcase cameras. And so not only now can you walk down the street, in most instances, you can open the front door of a house that you're looking at and then walk through the house. So what AI is going to be able to do at a level better than any real estate agent can do is it's not that you used to go and tell your agent that, hey, you used to be, I want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths on one level. Show me what you can find. You're going to be able to get so much granular with your search sites that you can go in and say, I need 2 bedrooms that are 12 by 12 to fit the furniture that I have. I need an office. The kitchen has to have an island. And then I want my evening porch to have an eastern exposure, so I'm in the shade in the evenings. And then AI is going to go in and it's going to say, Lance, we have searched through, we've gone through all the 3D virtual tours that are out there, and these 3 houses meet all of your criteria. And so then if there's something you don't like that, you're going to be able to refine it. So the ability to find and search homes with very, very specific characteristics is going to change dramatically in 2026. I just feel like the same technology that we're using in mapping and street views is going to be coming into the housing industry. And so the consumer in a much quicker pattern will be able to get rid of the noise and get and pick the homes that they're after at a much faster clip. So I think that's going to be a game changer, not only for the consumer, but I think the efficiency that it's going to create for the agent is going to be huge. And then consumers on the sales side need to know that if they're not providing that level of detail, their agents aren't when they're listing those houses and putting them on the market, that then the AI is not going to pick up on their house and they're going to be out of the loop for those listings. So the agents are going to have to up their game. The ones that want to continue to be efficient and stay in the business are going to have to up their game to meet the AI at where the consumer is searching. So that's the big technology prediction that I'm making for 2026. Oversight and control of local MLSs in Eastern Washington, I think will change. The landscape will change in 2026. So everybody knows, we talked about it on the show, maybe not everybody knows, but most people that listen to the show, we talked about the last 2 years, all of the massive changes and litigation that happened in the real estate world, the changing of commission structures to buyers and transferring some of that over to buyers. So it caused not only a lot of forms changes and national changes, but it's forced a lot of the decision-making onto local MLSs. And so that's small, local, like the Tri-Cities MLS, for instance. But the problem is I don't think that those local MLSs have the ability or the liability insurance that they need to draft some of these policies or make those changes. And so what we're going to see happen is a lot of those MLSs have to consolidate. So you can't just manage now a Tri-City MLS and have 3 full-time employees and then think you're going to be able to cover the liability and the insurance. Those associations are going to have to manage, consolidate, merge, become a part of different MLSs. And I think you'll see there's been a big push for a statewide MLS, which has been led dramatically by the Northwest MLS. But at a minimum, I don't think everybody's ready to make that jump in that situation and give up some of that local control. But I think what you're going to see happen is I think you're going to see continued consolidation in Eastern Washington. Some of these smaller pocket MLSs are going to be forced to combine with some of the other Eastern Washington MLSs. So I think you're going to see some consolidation there. The next prediction that I put down, and I guess I can start with my hook on this, John.
Okay.
And I have a more refined prediction, but the way I'm going to say it is that wallpaper is here again.
Oh.
I know you don't want it to be, but wallpaper's back. Okay. I haven't even gone to the Builder Show. That's going to be like in the next couple of months. You're going to see like I'm going to that like in a couple weeks. But so the real reason that I'm going to put down is interior design and condition of homes is going to make a big difference in sales. Because over the last 5 years, what we've had happen is the houses were basically a commodity.
Okay.
Meaning that they became a generalized commodity. I could pick 4 different builders and I could take and show you 4 different spec houses. And unless you were in the industry, like you were just John McKay, you probably wouldn't be able to tell me the difference between the 4 builders.
Oh.
They were going to have gray walls. They were going to have white cabinets and white quartz countertops. And they were all going to look the same. But it didn't matter because all of those houses were selling.
Yeah.
And they were selling, and if they were available, they were selling. So now what starts to happen is you get actual inventory back on the market. A buyer now has 5 or 6 houses to look at. And when you have 5 or 6 houses to look at, the one that's going to sell is the one that differentiates themselves.
Yeah.
And so interior design and that condition is going to make that house stick out to a buyer. So if I took you to 4 of those houses that were all gray walls, white cabinets, and then I took you to a 5th one that had done some accent walls, had done some decorating that was tasteful and modern, you would likely leave and I would say, well, John, of the 5 houses we saw today, which one are you feeling?
The one that looked better.
Right, like it's not that difficult, right?
Yeah.
But it's not that difficult, but it makes a difference. That that's the key. And so interior design and that type of condition is going to make a comeback. And like I said, wallpaper is here. I literally had over the last month and a half, I had like 3 people contact me and ask me for a referral for someone to put up wallpaper. I hadn't had a request like that in the last 2.5 years. And the first 2 people I called, one of them was a designer, didn't even have somebody. And so then and then through our networks, of course, we made enough calls. We've got a great person now. So wallpaper's back, and in a flatter market, that really starts to matter. A good example of this was, like I'm a glutton for punishment, so I have to do this for work, and then I'll go home at night and I'll watch like Chip and Joanna Gaines, too, because I can't get enough, and so. Like they recently did a big cabin remodel in Colorado. And if you look at how it looked in the beginning to how it looks now, and granted, that's also millions. I get it. I'm not an idiot. It's millions of dollars, and her design, she's been doing it for years. It's unrecognizable from what some accent walls, paint changes, adding wallpaper when done tastefully. Now, I'm not ready for rose gold and like roses and grandma's wallpaper, but there are some linen fabrics, accent walls, like wallpaper's come a long way, and you're going to see a lot more of it again, whether you want to or not. So there's my prediction there. Number 6 that I wrote down is that if you're thinking about starting a business, here you go. The trends say, and I really believe, I think you will see home remodeling be at an all-time high in 2026, because here's a couple things that are happening. Yes, the rates have come down, but they're still not low enough to make the 3 to 4% people move.
Yeah.
Those people are still locked in their houses. They're not moving unless they have a major life change. They've seen the rates come down a little bit, but they haven't come down as much as they hoped they would. What do those people all have? Tons of equity tied up in their homes.
Yeah.
Those people are sitting in homes that were $350,000 and now they're worth $575, over the course of 5 or 6 years. But there's some things they don't like. There's some things they want to change. They want to add a bedroom, maybe add a theater room. Maybe they got rid of their kids and they just want to add a gym now, because they actually have time to exercise.
Yeah.
Shout out empty nesters. And so when you look at that, what they're going to do is they're going to tap into their equity. They're going to keep their lower rate on the majority of their mortgage. The rates are going to be low enough for them to get HELOCs. So they're going to get home equity line of credits. And they're going to use that money and that equity to add these additions, to do big remodels, to get the primary bath, that's the ensuite that they always wanted to have. And so then they're only going to be paying the higher amount of interest on the portion of the remodel, not the entire amount if they move to a new house.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see remodeling be at an all-time high in 2026. And then the last prediction, I went crazy. I went crazy on this one. And so I almost didn't put it down, but the 7th one that I put down is, and I hinted at this a couple of weeks ago, but the more I think about this and some of these housing policies coming out that are crazy, and some of it is just because occasionally Trump just says crazy things with these policies. But you start to think, like, what would move the needle? And I think what you're going to see happen is I think you're going to see mortgage companies allow you to blend or port the balance on your mortgage to keep your business. So there's massive consolidation in the mortgage companies, in the loan servicing companies. A lot of them have consolidated, and they're trying to figure out, as the market changes, as rates come down, how do they continue to get business from these clients and keep the clients that they have? So picture this. So let's say that you have a balance on your mortgage that is $300,000.
Okay.
And you're locked in at that 3.5% rate. But you really want to go get a new house.
Okay.
That is going to be $700,000. You're going to use some of the equity when you sell that, and you need on that house, you need a $400,000 mortgage.
Okay.
So the balance of yours is $300,000. So in a normal case today, you have to sell your house, pay off that mortgage to add the low rate, and then you have to go buy the new one and get a $400,000 mortgage.
Okay.
But what if the powers that be said, United Wholesale Mortgage, Wells Fargo, whoever it is, said, you know what? We want your business for the next 25 years. We want to keep your mortgage. We're not going to sell it. So I'll tell you what, if you go buy that $700,000 house, Lance, we will, on your new mortgage, if you stay with us, on your new $400,000 mortgage, we will keep your rate on 300 of that. We will keep your rate at the 3.5%. And on the extra 100 you're borrowing, that has to be at market. If you stay with us, then that portion of your mortgage will be at the 6%. So they basically allow you to port your mortgage balance over to your new purchase. So the bank that comes out with that product to keep their customers, I think they will keep a lot of their customers. Their customers will be able to move and then they will lock them in. And I bet they will come up with some sort of, much like the days in commercial real estate, a lot of commercial real estate will have like a prepayment penalty. So we'll give you this rate, but in year one, if you refinance or move to somebody else, will charge you 1 or 2 percentage points to pay off your balance. So they're very popular in commercial to have prepayment. So I think some of these mortgage companies are going to offer people the ability, if you stay with them, to port that balance and then put a prepayment penalty on it. So that they keep you long term. I have no idea. I don't get to be in these boardrooms and set those meetings, but I think you're going to see some very creative residential type products come in, so that people can make some of these moves and unlock some of this equity.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong, John. I might go 30% on my predictions next year. We won't know until January of 27.
Yeah.
But then in the meantime, we're going to keep selling real estate, helping our customers. We will be right back here next week.